you're wondering if a robot vacuum is right for your family. I've had the Roomba 105 for several months now, and in many ways, it has been wonderful. It has been life-changing, but in other ways, it has been very frustrating. So I'll tell you all about it. Keep listening to the end, where I tell you some of the concerns as well. So what happened to me was I was over at my neighbor's house with my children, and they were eating crumbly cake. And the crumbs from this cake got all over the floor. So there I was cleaning up the cake. And my neighbor said, "John, don't worry about cleaning up the cake. We have a dog. Don't worry, it's all okay." But some of this cake that they crumbled was actually chocolate. So now I'm sneakily trying to clean up some of the cake. And he sees me again and he says, "John, don't worry. We actually have one of these robot vacuums now. We'll put it on when you're gone. It's all good." And so that got me asking questions about these robot vacuums. Where are we nowadays in the technology and the price? Is it useful? Is it practical for families? iRobot was having a sale on the Roomba 105, so I thought at this price, at the price of just a visit from a cleaning lady, we have this new vacuum, and how would it go? Now, the Roomba 105 is a newer vacuum from iRobot, and it's one that's clearly designed for everyday maintenance, and it's not going to be for heavy-duty cleaning. The suction is useful, but the vacuums rely a lot on the brush design, the path coverage, and not just raw suction. So this brand new Roomba Combo 105 is the new budget-friendly robot that vacuums and mops in one go. And what it became is the most affordable Roomba with the LiDAR mapping. And that is the same tech that some of the higher-end models use, but without obstacle avoidance. So something you have to do if you have small children, it's a bit of a challenge, is you take up everything off the floor, you press the bottom on the top of your robot when you get it, and it will go out. It's slightly vacuuming, but it's mostly looking into all your rooms, sending out its laser pulses to get a view of each of your rooms. So you have to have everything off the floor or it will suck it up. And then after that, you'll have a map and you'll be able to edit your map into different rooms and then be able to send your robot into those rooms to clean them specifically. Now you do this through the app, and the app is the way that you get access to the various options that the Roomba robot has. It's where you get to see the primary interface. You can do one-off cleans, schedule regular cleans, change the suction level, choose whether you want to use the map or the vacuum, the combo modes. You can even set up keep out zones or no mop zones. So what you get from this is that the robot doesn't just wander randomly. After this full floor plan, it cleans in neat straight lines. And this is where the Roomba really shines and where you really start to notice the difference between me using a regular vacuum and having the Roomba, which will make sure that it covers every inch of the floor that it is able to reach. And this gets a lot of the left behind dust or hair that we would miss if we were just going after the parts that we could see there was an issue or a problem with. In the past, I would find myself being drawn towards vacuuming just before the kids were supposed to start to get ready for bed, because the sun would start to shine low into the house, and then it would pick up all the dust on the floor, and you could really see where there was still hair and dust left behind. The Roomba will get that. It'll get the dust bunnies underneath the couches. It'll keep the floor in a much cleaner state on a day-to-day basis. Well, this is where robot vacuums really are useful. It gets those crumbs. It gets the things that we can't see. What makes this particular model combo is that it has a mop pad attached, and it mops and vacuums in the same pass. It basically drags microfiber cloth behind as it is fed water from the combo tank. If you have glossy hardwood floors, this is really useful. The pad won't bring up hard caked on messes. You'll even find yourself, if you spray and wipe quickly, then you can send the mop and it'll help take up footprints especially, and dust or dirt that can be left behind. It can't really get into the corners. It can't scrub the corners. You'll still need to mop from time to time, but it really reduces how often you need to mop because it's constantly able to address that. When the mopping pad is attached to the Roomba.
Hello, this is the Kids Intermission, where we kids say what we think.
I think that the Roomba can be very helpful. And I think it's helpful because my dad and mom don't have to do all the work. And it's also fun to put little toys on it. And yeah, I think my big brother got the rest.
So what I think that Dad missed in his part is that the Roomba can have multiple maps. So it can have map 1 and map 2 if you have 2 floors like we do. And that ends this intermission. And we'll go back to my dad. Goodbye.
The robot will avoid carpets. If it gets to the edge of a carpet, it'll just keep trying to bump up against it, but it'll notice that area. You can also put no mop zones into where the carpet is in the map to help the Roomba just stay away from it and not have to keep bumping up towards it. Another thing about the Roomba is it can tell where stairs are. You don't have to block stairs off. It won't go over the edge. However, even though this Roomba does have the LiDAR, it doesn't have the new cameras that helps with the AI to avoid things such as messes that the pets might leave on the ground. It also can't avoid things like socks, cords. It can often get caught up on that. That's why for me personally, I rarely run the Roomba when I'm not at home, but I run it as I'm doing other things around the house so that if it gets into trouble, I'm there to make sure that it's not going to create a bigger than was already there. So this mopping feature is basic. It drags a damp pad behind it. There's no scrubbing brushes, no spinning heads. Some of the other models, it says will rinse and dry the pads after a run. This one doesn't. It can start to smell moldy if you leave it on. So after you run, you should take the mop pad back off, rinse it, let it dry, or throw it into the wash. Another point is iRobot says you should empty the bin of water when you're not using it. So this is a bit much for people like me who would love to use the mop every day and with most runs, as I have mostly glossy hardwood floors. And it really does help to keep up the footprints on the floor and any miscellaneous messes. It helps a lot with keeping the floors up on a daily basis. So it is a bit much that iRobot wants me to take off the mop and empty the water bin in between my uses. This might be something where it's worth looking at the more expensive models, especially at a time like this where there's sales running. Another question I might get, is the auto empty worth it? It costs more money to have the home station, which includes an auto empty. From my perspective, it wasn't worth it. Part of that is, as I'm using the mopping feature with the vacuum feature, it does get moist within the bin compartment. And so it really is something where every day after I use it, it's worth getting in there and wiping out some of the dust and moisture. There's enough debris left on the floor with all my kids that when I run the robot, it's going to pick up quite a bit of food particles or Play-Doh particles that's worth rinsing the mop each time and emptying the bin. If you're in a situation where you weren't going to use the mop that often and it is mostly dust and hair that you're picking up, it might be worth it to have the auto empty function. But otherwise, Roomba is really encouraging of you to often check the robot and to make sure that it's clean. So if you're interacting with the robot to such a degree anyways, I don't see the exact purpose of the auto empty feature. Another thing worth mentioning is I've become more accustomed to the detangling heads on the newer Dyson model of handheld vacuums where the hair goes straight into the bin. With the Roomba 105, it does not have that sort of head, so the head will be covered with strands of hair wrapped around it in pretty quick order. So whether an auto empty bin is worth it when you're already going to be interacting with it most days to detangle the hair and to clean the mop pad and to wipe down the inside of the bin where moisture is starting to gather. I'm not sure if the auto empty bin would be worth it to you in that regard. Potentially someone else could tell you about that. I think it's something to look into. So in conclusion, a few things to note. The mop is basic. There's no true scrubbing. The Roomba can get stuck on socks and cords, Legos. There's no camera, vision, or AI detection like pricier models, and you'll need to tidy the floor before you run it. So what are the real benefits? If you're interacting with the robot so much anyways, is it easier just to vacuum and go? And depending on your personality, you may think so. But for me, the robot is a different kind of effort. It's an effort before and after, and as the robot is going, I get to move on and do something else. These places where dust bunnies will accumulate, and it covers every inch of the floor, which picks up a lot of what I would miss if I was doing the vacuuming by hand. The other great benefit of the Roomba that is hard to really overstate is the personality that the robot brings into your house. When you're setting up the robot, there's that excitement, and it asks you to even name your robot. So you have the children around, they're coming up with a name for the robot, and they talk about it there. So I found it a lot easier if I'm saying, hey, we got to clean up this floor so we can vacuum. It's a little bit harder to get feedback But when you say, hey, we need to help Ruby, we need to clean up this floor so that Ruby doesn't get your things, it's a real motivator. The children want to help the robot, and the children know that the robot has a mind of its own. And if it sucks up their small toys or their papers, like that's going to be some damage that they can't blame on their parents. And helps create that team atmosphere that I found really encouraging, where just, hey, we got to pick up before the robot can become something that is part of our routine, and was a lot easier than when it's just, hey, we got to clean because we got to clean. It's created this sort of personality where the children are happy to help. And that is something that has lasted even beyond the initial excitement. But there is the benefit of the initial excitement when we got the robot and the first interaction with the cat with the robot, placing some toys on top of the robot as it goes around. At one point, my mother even put a bow on top of the robot, top of Ruby, and it is something that helps build team atmosphere in your house around the cost of having a cleaning person come in for a day. So if your house is a busy one like ours, with crumbs under the table, children and pet hair underneath the couches, the robot will absolutely help. It won't replace deep mopping, but will reduce the frequencies that you need it, and it does cut the daily cleaning by a significant portion. Now this brings me to my largest con. The Roomba 105 is my first robot vacuum, and is really the only thing that I can speak to. I'm not sure about the overall quality of iRobot products. The Roomba 105 was their new attempt. When I first got it, it had a brand new app. The app was glitchy and it didn't work properly. Now, within the first few weeks, iRobot really improved the app, and right now it's at a good place. So there is that encouragement that iRobot seems to address the problems as they come up, but it also seems like with this lower end potentially of models that they're building as they're going, and I can't speak to their higher quality models, whether those have more stability or if I would run into the same issues. One of the ways I know that I enjoy the Roomba 105 is because I missed it when it broke. A few months ago, it would no longer start from the app, and it really wasn't explained to me what the issue was. But after I troubleshooted it and several back and forths, they did send me a new robot and had me send back the broken one in the same packaging free of charge. But in those days and weeks where it wasn't working any longer, I remembered how many crumbs would be on the floor at any given time. And I could see that, okay, the Roomba really has improved our life and the cleanliness of our house with a significantly minimal effort. Now, as we're making this video, I've been currently, for the last week, talking again with the iRobot support over now the mop function no longer works on our Roomba. So it's vacuuming fine, but the mop is no longer letting out water, even though there's water in the bin, and it says that the water pad is attached. So it is a bit aggravating because, again, because it's broken, I can see, okay, the water mop, even though it was basic, it did really help keep up with floors in a way that's beyond just the vacuum. Because now that I'm without the mop, I can see the daily grime is starting to add up, and I do have to wash the floor more regularly than I did when the Roomba was all working and everything was working appropriately. Since we started putting out this video, iRobot has reached out and they've agreed to send us the newer model, the Roomba 205. So we will put out some other videos comparing the two shortly. It'd be one of those things where if you're buying a device like this, it is much more advantageous to buy it through Costco, where if the device stops working, you can return it. I did look on Amazon, and most people seem to be having a good experience with their robots. It's around a 4 out of 5 stars, but then you'll see like the 1 out of 10 are running into similar issues as I am. So we love our Roomba. We love the touches that they put into it. We love that the children are able to connect with the robot, desire to help the robot. We enjoy that it touches all of the portions of our floor, and it comprehensively keeps the floors a lot tidier than when we went to get out the vacuum. One thing I would potentially look into is to see if it might be worth jumping this initial step of the 105 and going for one of their more expensive models, which has the scrubbing head mops that rinse themselves, that dry themselves, and potentially might be a more stable option, less likely to break in the way that the 105 has broken for me. Now, if the 105 is what you can afford right now, there are great deals, it might be worth it. And I would still say after all of this that it still is worth it it is improving our lives and making our home more manageable. So if you listened all the way to the end, I really appreciate it. We're going to be trying to release more videos of our life in home education, as well as the various tools that we pick up along the way to help make life together more enjoyable and fun. So if that sounds good, please subscribe, and that'll be an encouragement to let you know more about our favorite books, our favorite devices, our favorite approaches to living life together. Until next time.